The heart of rock and roll is still beating on Amigos, episode 359. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Amigos. I'm John.
And I'm Aaron.
And today, Aaron, we're going to be talking about rock and roll.
Oh, man.
Aaron, has it been a long time since you've rocked and rolled?
That's not. It's been a week since I rocked and rolled. If you'll recall, I was singing. I did a little dancing. I laid it down, karaoke style. Actually, it was not really rock and roll. It was more like outlaw country. That's pretty close to rock and roll. What? It was. That was outlaw country, brother. You laid some tracks down there with Eve, as I recall.
Well, it's been a long time. It's been a long time. It's been a long, 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 lonely time.
Oh, would you stop?
When you were a kid, were you ever scared by rock and roll?
Absolutely, yes. It's funny. I remember the first day of fourth grade. This is going to date me somewhat. But I walked into the class, and all the kids were there, and someone had a tape deck or something, and they had a Kiss album. I don't remember which one. And they also had, of all the, you're going to think I'm an idiot, but they had Queen's. Another one, Bites the Dust, right? It was the cassette single, I believe. Mm-hmm. And man, I was like, these two bands, they're too heavy for me. These two,
yeah,
of all people, So yes, I was scared of a lot of rock and roll guys back in the day. The ones that I went to this church, they used to have these things for teenagers at my church. Like it was like an overnight thing, and I went to one time where they talked about backward masking. And it really freaked me out. I was like, man, this is some scary stuff. So, like Ozzy Osbourne, no way I'd get in him. Or like Metallica, and then later on, I wasn't scared, but I was mildly amused by people like King Diamond. But like another guy, Alice Cooper, I saw a bit on stage one time where he had his head cut off, and that freaked me out, man.
Right.
Now later on, I was more scared of people like Gigi Allen.
Well, you should be afraid of people.
Yeah,
like him.
because
those are psychopaths.
Yeah, their antics. But I was though in grade school in particular. There were acts I would not touch. What about you?
Well, the Satanic Panic was mostly over by the time I came of age. I was still too young to hit that wave, but I was definitely afraid of MTV. I would be where I'd be flipping through the channels, and I would skip as fast as I could past MTV, just because whenever you'd go on there, you'd see the hair, you'd see the movement. There's freaky stuff on there. Like I just remember seeing like hair metal bands and watching them scream and being like, "What is this? This is not music. This is crazy time."
The funny thing about those bands, because you got to think if you look at stuff in the early '80s, okay, when was your main MTV viewing era? What would you say it was?
Oh, well, when I started watching MTV, it was like probably 93 through 97.
And when were you scared of it?
Probably like 88 to 91.
Right. So you skipped out on a lot of the dumber things, because the MTV was I think MTV started 83, something like that.
Something like that.
And
yeah.
you'd have every once in a while you'd have somebody come on there like there was a band. It wasn't Dokken. It was a much more, but it was something like their lead.
Dio?
No, it wasn't that cool. But the lead singer was this tubby guy with long dumb hair, and the band was a bunch of old dumb guys danced around. Then you had like Quiet Riot and stuff, and this stuff, it was rocky, but it wasn't super scary, right? But then in the late '80s, all the bands you might have been scared of in the early '80s became wieners. Everybody was singing these love ballads and stuff, everyone, it's funny, all these real tough, badass guys, they're wearing leather, they got all these women, and then they try their best to look like women, and they get up on stage and sing the most heartfelt love songs. It's like, what is this? What's happening here? That's what, one thing I've learned about researching all the number one hits is like, whenever a band like that hits number one, it's always with a song like that. It's like a love ballad type song. So they knew where their money came from. That eventually, of course, they all went away. And so when you came in, it's sort of like when the grunge era hit and whatnot, and hip hop started taking off. But that part of the music in the '80s it ranges from goofy to hideous. There's a in my opinion,
it's a broad spectrum.
Yeah, it is. It got real goofy though.
Well, Aaron, I'll tell you what hasn't been goofy this week. Actually, it has been a little bit goofy. This week's Amiga news.
Yeah, right on, man.
Amiga News.
All right, Aaron, we're going to start with a possibly controversial video that I saw. This is a build, this is a RetroPie build, and Aaron, they call it the A500 Mini Killer.
Yeah, I saw the headline here.
Strong words.
Well,
Strong words.
They're dumb words from the dumb guy. Because, I mean, let's face facts. I mean, when I see something like this, and what for the uninformed, this is an image for the RetroPie 4 32 gig model, it says here, or maybe it's a 32 gigabyte download. That's probably what it is. And it's just got a bunch of, all it is just a RetroPie image. You know, I mean, listen, it's not like, where did this come from? Oh, I can play all the Amiga games on the RetroPie years ago. So that's not.
Well, I think what you're missing here is the window dressing. Okay, because this is an Amiga only image. What they've done is they've taken all the categories and they've broken them up, and it's all Amiga centric. So you've got like a Renegade category, a Team 17 category, and it's all custom art. You know, so I mean, do I think that this is an A500 Mini Killer? No, of course not. But I'm not gonna poop all over this and say that it's no good, because it's obvious that a lot of work went into the UI here, and I think it's cool that there is a totally Amiga exclusive image out there that has a lot of a lot of panache.
Well, listen, I'm not bad mouthing the art, but I mean, again, this has been done, okay. And by the way, a lot of saying this art, I mean, all this art has been horked.
Sure.
Trust me, I'm the art horking master, so I know people that do my work. All right, now again, there's a lot of work that's been done, but I mean, there have been plenty of Amiga exclusive Pi images, tons, including Chris Edwards' very popular one. With all that said, this is not the A500 Mini Killer. The price is the the price of the A500 Mini. That's the A500 Mini Killer because it's too expensive. But with all that said, it's just like any other Mini, right? But how many times we had this conversation when we talked about the NES Mini, the SNES Mini, the TurboGrafx Mini? Yes, newsflash for the uninformed: you can play all these things that are on a Raspberry Pi. How well can you play them? It depends. It depends on what you're doing with it. But what was it you always told me when you were buying these things? I recall a couple arguments we had, and I couldn't fight you on these. You bought them, one, because you liked the way it looked, right? And two, to legally support the people selling it, which those are both legitimate reasons for some people to buy these things. Now, I can tell you, and I'm going to get into this more in the future, but I have been tooling around the past couple weeks on the Amiga Mini front end software. I'm trying to think of the fella's name that makes it. I think it's look, I think I got it wrote down here. It's a guy named Amy Jimmy. All right, Amy Jimmy. He's the one that does the Amiga Mini like OS that you've seen, including I've had the old version. The new version is getting ready to come out, and I'm actually going to talk to this guy. He's going to give me a little interview on this thing right before it releases. So stay tuned for that. But he has unleashed the power of the A500 Mini. Now, with all that said, the A500 Mini is very similar to a Raspberry Pi. It's just a doodad in a very attractive box. But I do like the fact that someone's out there trying to squeeze the most out of it that they can. I think the Amiga 500 Mini, as sold, is a decent little package that's overpriced. I think if with a modicum of effort, you can make that thing into a pretty darn fun device. Plus, we should also mention that when you buy one, you get the cool peripherals. You get the joystick, the mouse, all that stuff. You're not going to get that with a Pi. And then also, something else just to mention.
I will tell you this, Aaron.
Yeah.
If you skip forward to about 12 minutes into that video,
yeah,
they've done quite a few things that you might not find on all Amiga builds. For example, they've added in, customized controllers for a PS4 stick that give you throttle and brakes on racing games using the triggers.
Yeah,
I think that's pretty
again,
cool.
that's been done
You
as
know,
well. I'm not gonna.
again, everything under the sun has been
You're
done.
right. I mean, I'm saying,
Question is, the question is, can I get everything, the most up-to-date version for the latest Pi for the Amiga, all in one build? If
well,
that's what you're
I've got
after,
a coin
this
ops.
looks like the thing.
I've got a coin ops build where they did all this stuff as well. In fact, some of this stuff, a lot of it's cross-platform. So yeah, I always wonder what's getting done by who and when and where. You know how protective the coin ops guys are of their jack. So I don't want to badmouth the Pi image. I'm just saying, I don't necessarily like what it's called, but yeah, whatever they want.
And again, I don't know if the people that made this image actually were the ones that called it the A500 Mini Killer.
Yeah.
That might have been the people that put together this video.
I'd say you're probably right. I will say, I mean, listen, I've had a Pi 4 for a good while now, and it is, I mean, I've got nothing bad to say about it. I got the top of the line one, and it's great. It's great. I mean, me and you've played on it. We've had that big control panel hooked up to it. It's awesome. I got nothing bad to say about it. And that you could get a lot of pleasure out of those things. Now, I don't know if there was a time when those things were really difficult to get and had gotten very expensive. I don't know if they've come down or not. I haven't checked. But heck, if they get back down to their original price, absolutely. This would not be the worst thing to pick up, Boat.
Yeah, yeah. All right, Aaron, we move on to our friend. Well, this is a video from Hold and Modify.
Yeah, I've been watching some of this guy's stuff myself.
Yeah, and we talked about this last week. Our friend Chris Edwards put together an A4000. He bought it and he fixed it and he sent it over to these guys. And so this is their unboxing video, and they talk all about the A4000. And so there's nothing really new here that Chris didn't cover, but it sort of completes that story where it's now finally in a loving home. And you can hear the thoughts about the people that ended up with it.
Yeah, I think that's neat. It's like I said, I like what Chris did there, and I will say if you Hold Modify puts out quite a few videos. I think they're all Amiga centric. I've watched some, and I like his stuff. He's got some good stuff. So if you haven't checked his stuff out, give him a shot.
Yeah, yeah. And speaking of Chris Edwards, he also put out a video this week. This is his continued restoration. I believe this is the final video that he's going to do with this Amiga 3000. He said he didn't get all of the kinks worked out, but it is working. The A3000 tower. Would you say that the 3000 tower is more rare than the 4000 tower?
I just couldn't tell you. It seems like
I don't know either.
It seems like it is. I'll watch this video. This is one of my all-time favorite Chris Edwards bits here, and because I'm a sick evil man, but I'm not gonna lie to you, and I love to watch people that get screwed over and over, and that's what happens.
You are the target market for ow my balls.
Yeah, this guy, I love that. By the way, yeah, this guy gets every move a wrong one. He can't catch a break. He can't get the video to work when he gets that working. He can't. Something else goes wrong. Then he recaps the whole board. The caps keep blowing up. He has like no end of problems. And not to spoil the ending, but the ending is he gives up for a while. It's like, all right, I'm done with that for a while. But I mean, it starts off at like, I don't know, like 2 a.m. Then he gets back up at like 7 a.m. Then it shows bits and pieces of him all day long, then all night. And then, so he's like 24 hours. He's had like 5 hours of sleep. He's recapped this. And he made the cardinal dumb guy mistake, which I've done this many times. When you recap, like for example, I just recapped that Apple board, right? The one I got for the GS. I recapped the power supply, put it back together, put it up. Guess what? I forgot to change the fuse and soldered down. So I got to take it back out too. But Chris Edwards, what he does is he recaps the A4000 board and sticks it back in. And when you put these back in, it's not just like a wham bam Bob's your uncle. I mean, it's an elaborate dance of stuff you've got to put back in. He's had to take this thing apart over and over and over. Again, it was good stuff. Like I said, Chris reminds me a lot of me. He's about 10 times more patient. I would have chucked this thing in the bay if it had been me. But I strongly suggest, either if you want to watch a man who goes in and gives it his all, working on an Amiga, this is a video for you. Or if you just want to watch a guy suffer and just keep coming back for more, this is also the video for you. Good stuff. I enjoyed this immensely.
Aaron, we've got one more news story, and this is something that is as timely as today's headlines, because we just got done talking about Spy Hunter on a recent episode of Our Sinclair.
Yes, we did.
Spy Hunter never came to the Amiga. They did get a clone called Major Havoc,
which is
that we
great.
Covered many years ago.
Great game, yeah.
Well, it looks like thanks to the Scorpion engine, there is a I don't want to say official because that's not true, but it is they're trying to recreate Spy Hunter exactly, and this looks great, doesn't it?
Holy smokes! Yeah, this looks real good. Look at the smoothness. I like the speed of it. The graphics look nice. Now, of course, it obviously still working.
Collision detection needs work.
But I mean, listen, the Scorpion engine. Where did this thing come from? This thing's the bomb, Bo. We love this thing. Yeah. They keep making great stuff with it. Yeah, this. Does it say who's doing this here? Because I want to give this guy kudos.
It looks like EAB member Flibble42.
Listen, well done, Flibble. This is good. This looks like good work. If we could get that classic music stuck in there, the boat, all the helicopter, all the sound we like. This could be the quintessential version of this game. This looks real good.
Absolutely.
We're going to do a stream one night, but where we just play stuff made with that Scorpion engine to just try it out.
That sounds like a fantastic
idea. That's some good stuff right there, Bo. Excellent.
Yeah. All right, Aaron. Well, that's going to wrap up this week's Amiga news. So let's talk about one of the fine folks that makes this podcast possible. That's right, RetroRewind.ca.
Yes. We just came back from Boat Fest where we met Frank. We watched him. We watched him work, Boat, firsthand, and
we watched him nay.
Yeah, well, now, in all honesty, it looked like Boat Fest was this big, huge, elaborate party with buckets of food, booze, all these computers, and it was all that. But there was also a couple dudes slaving like dogs over at the Retro Rewind table. It was Jason Warrens and Frank, who were like I said last time, I was afraid they wouldn't have anything to do. That was incorrect. They had plenty to do, didn't they, Boat?
They did. People were bringing stuff, everything from Amigas, tons of Amigas they recapped, to there was a Jag that was worked on. TSI Matt brought an old 386. Just threw it on the table, said, do what you will.
I'm so glad he brought that, because if you'll recall, but Matt brought that 386 to the very first Taze Valley Classic Computer Club. Remember, it had that battery
was when we
in
drilled the lock out of,
right?
right?
And it had that battery in it that we didn't know what to do with it. And so Frank took care of that for him.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Well, that's another loop closed right there.
Yeah, so the next time we have a Taze Valley Classic Computer Club, that computer should be there. I told Matt, I demand he brings it, we'll load it up.
Yeah. Well, Aaron, no matter what you need for your classic Commodore or Tandy computer, Frank's got it. He's got accelerators. He's got the A630. He's got caps. He's got IDE or compact flash to IDE adapters. He's got SD to IDE adapters. He has a fully fledged, repair service where you can send him a broken machine. He'll fix it for you. Check out RetroRewind.ca, and when you do, you're going to want to buy something. And when you buy something, you want to use the promo code, because everybody wants to save a little dough, if you know what I'm saying.
I know what you're talking to, yeah.
You can save 10% off any order by using promo code Amigos10 at checkout. So make sure you don't forget that. We thank Retro Rewind, and we appreciate the service that they do for being part of the Amiga community and for sponsoring the Amigos podcast.
Yeah, thanks, Frank.
All right, Aaron, it's time to rock and roll.
Oh, man.
Let's rock!
Oh, God, you had to get that out there, didn't you, bud?
Sorry, I broke something.
Listen, we can only hope that will disrupt the song later. That's all. That's the only thing that's going to come out of that. Now, Boat, of course, I guess this is like puzzle week or whatever, and so we got rock and roll. Had you ever heard of rock and roll?
No.
So
in fact, I thought this was a totally different, like even looking at the box art, I thought this was a game like Space Racer or something. I was thinking about like Rock and Roll Racing on the Super Nintendo. This was not what I expected.
You're like the dude from Footloose. You've never experienced rock and roll, and then someone showed it to you, and now you love it. Isn't that nice?
I've never seen Footloose.
Good move. I will say, I saw that in the theater with a bunch of dudes, And yeah, it was a movie
Ooh,
where a guy
romantic.
dances around. Kevin Bacon, I believe it was. Just a little tidbit. The guy that wrote that movie, remember the album? That was a big album, the Footloose soundtrack.
Who was the guy?
Kenny Loggins
Kenny
sang
Loggins,
Footloose,
right.
but it had a bunch. I think it had a bunch of songs. But anyway, the guy that wrote wrote the screenplay for that, he co-wrote every song on the album, which I thought was interesting. It was a very rare thing to do. Anyway, with all that said, because this has nothing to do with Footloose, there's not any feet in this, for that matter, because this is rock and roll.
Released, right. No feet in rock and roll.
Released way back, Boat, in 1989. That's the year I graduated from high school, Boatster. So I was ready to rock and roll. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
This came out in '89, and this is for the OCS, and this is a 2-disc special here, and released by Rainbow Arts. They publish this bad boy. We've heard of Rainbow Arts a few times. We've covered many of their games. They, of course, in fact, you just covered one recently, Boat, on your special series, which we'll get to, Great Guyana Sisters. They also published the Turrican series, and they also covered a poetry called Curse of Ra, and Master Blazer, and a bunch of other stuff. They published, I think, like 50-some games on the Amiga. Now, this was developed by an outfit called Dynamic Visions. I kind of like that. This is the only thing they ever did.
Cool name.
Only thing they ever were credited with on the machine. This game was designed by a fellow named Martin Goxt, and coded by a fellow named Frank Prossi. Graphics on this were done by Sebastian Ulrich Deutsch. He was responsible. Yeah, I'm getting into it today. This dude worked on Turrican, Droll, Kick Up, and a game we've got to try sometime called Australopithecus Mechanicus.
Put it on the list, AGSC.
Yeah.
I want to play that.
And then you may have heard of the guy that did the music in this. He's a guy I like to call the Oolsback. That's Chris Oolsback, who's done a lot of the good stuff. You may have heard some of his tunes at Turrican, Monkey Island. He also did the music of Guyana Sisters, BC Kid, and Ophidia, which we liked a good chunk of those games, didn't we, Bo?
That's right. That's right.
Of course, he did a million others. Pretty much write the check. He's ready to rock and roll, brother. I wrote this out here. The ST version of the music was done by a different guy, Barry Leach. Did the ST?
Oh yeah, who we've done a lot of games by him.
That's why I mentioned them. So I thought that was kind of neat. So that's the particulars. I want to talk about before we get into the game, Boat. This game, it's sort of well known for, and has a kind of an amusing opening bit.
Oh yeah.
When it boots up, there's a band of freaks that play. I don't know what you'd call them.
It's their technical name.
Well, I mean, they're just a band of freaks that play this song. What did you think of this crazy opening? Are there trolls?
This reminded me a lot of the opening of WizKid, which I believe also has a similar freak, band of freaks opening.
It reminded me of the opening of Chuck Rock. Remember the Chuck Rock band that plays at the beginning of that? So
this
predates all those, I think.
This song that plays, I mean, it is a full song that plays.
Oh yeah.
And you get a full performance from it. It looks like they're sort of, impish, gnomish looking creatures of various sizes.
Yeah.
And you've got a drummer. You also have a little imp that's on a speaker, and he's just hitting a hi-hat with a sledgehammer.
I like
which
that
you need
guy.
to have.
He's my favorite guy. Yeah.
You got a guy playing the bongos, a guy playing a Hofner like McCartney style bass, and then a trumpet player.
Trumpeter.
So it's like odd instrumentation in this rock
You don't
band.
see a lot of bongos and trumpets teamed up unless you're going down to a coffee shop and it's the 60s. But yeah, I thought that was. Listen, if you're going to start your game off, listen, you could do worse than that opening. That's for sure. Rock and roll. I've got pulled the box down. I like to read the liner notes. This box is one of those boxes that are like multi-language, But the way this game builds itself, it says, and this I found odd. It says rock and roll filled with crazy yet unique action. Okay, I'll buy that. But here's how. So it's got 10. Here's the first thing it lists. Okay, 10 great rock and roll tracks. That's
debatable.
No, but I'm just saying now listen to what's next. Number 2, a massive overall high score table.
So what they're doing is they're saying, check out our game because we've got a high score table.
No, it's a massive one. The third point, 32 huge levels, each with its own high score table.
They're really selling the high score
I
table.
know. I mean, I didn't bring it up the rear. Bonus rooms and warps, ferocious rolling ball action amongst energy. I love that, by the way. Ferocious rolling ball action amongst energy barriers, teleporters, energy fields, powerful magnets, secret rooms, ventilators, and much, much more. So I get a kick out of that, but I like the way that they build the music and the high score table above all else. Couldn't figure that out. So once you get past the band, it's time to get into this game proper. Bo, first of all, before we get into the game proper, what did you think of the opening? Are we down with the band? You liked all that stuff, right?
You know, it was entertaining, but I can definitely see why when you play the WHD load version, there's a checkbox there that you can skip that intro. Because once you see it once, you're really not going to want to watch it.
I mean, you can skip it with your button, but if you're playing on disc, you have to wait that thing loads up. I should mention I played this on the A500 Mini and the Mister. I did double duty because I take that back. I did triple duty because I also played it on the Amiga forever because I wanted to see how it felt with different mice. That was because this is a game you play on the Amiga with the mouse. Now, with all that said, Boat, give the people the rundown as to what in God's name this game is.
So what this game is you are a ball and you roll around a level controlled by the mouse. So if you can picture in your mind Gauntlet, the arcade classic Gauntlet, a top-down perspective where you're in a maze-like structure. And instead of having a wizard or an elf, you're rolling a ball around. You have no offensive capabilities, and there are no real monsters in this game. The monsters your antagonist is basically the obstacles that are set up in the game. So what you're trying to do is roll your ball from the beginning of each level to the exit of each level, and the exit is actually marked as an exit. That is essentially what rock and roll is.
I hadn't thought about Gauntlet, but now that you mention it, yes, that's exactly what it is. It's like Marble Madness and Gauntlet had a small child, and this is what popped out. Now, of course, the liner notes mention that this has 32 big levels. Let me tell you something; they're not kidding. These levels in the true Amiga tradition. They just seem to go on forever and ever. They are long, long levels. Now, your ball sort of looks like a soccer ball. Well,
they do that because they need to give it some texture so you can actually tell if it's rolling.
Yeah, it works. It works. The effects of rolling the ball are fine. I had trouble with that. Now I've skipped through a few levels here early. I didn't get very far in this, but I will say that they've got the levels are sort of like it's like what if you mounted a maze on like nice wood. There's a nice wood look to it. And then there's a lot of like metal rails, and then you've got your ball. Now, ball controls on the Amiga version with the mouse. Now, I did look into this. Not every version of this uses the mouse for controls, if you can believe that. So there are some versions that you use the joystick or keyboard.
Well, it makes sense because like if there was a C64 version, then there's not a whole lot of C64 mice rolling around.
Yeah, right. But I mean, to me, a game like this, it almost begs to be played with a ball or a mouse or a trackball. It would be difficult for me to try to play this with a joystick, I think, but maybe you could get into it. Before we get into the obstacles and the levels, what did you think of the control of the ball? What did you play this on, I guess, and what did you think of the control with the mouse that you had?
I played this on FSUAE.
Yeah.
Because any sort of a mouse game, I want to be sitting down at the desk, and you know. You're never sure when you're playing a game like this unless you really play it with an original Amiga mouse, like a ball mouse.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times things like sensitivity and stuff like that would be turned way down because the ball mouse, just by its very nature, is not going to be as sensitive as a laser mouse. And so I wasn't sure if I needed to go in and of course with a game like this, you're not going to be able to adjust your mouse sensitivity. This isn't a modern game. And I didn't really look into adjusting, mouse sensitivity in the emulator. But I didn't have a horrible time controlling this game. The only time that I really had trouble was there are certain situations where you kind of have to roll your ball up an incline and you have a meter at the bottom of the screen, you've got a different bars that do different things, and one of
Yeah.
your bars is an energy bar, and that kind of tells you how much sort of forward power you can generate to get up a hill. And I found it to be almost luck, like I was just kind of ramming. I take the mouse and I, sort of do this thing with it. So I would have preferred a button, like if you need to summon the power of your energy meter, to put that, because the game itself, it's all controlled with the mouse, as we talked about. To cycle through your items, you hit the right mouse button, and then you use it. You use the item by clicking the left mouse button. It's actually a really good system. It works really, really well. I just would have liked to have an extra option that has just like an energy thing on it, and then when you hold down your button, that gives you that forward momentum that takes your energy.
I played this with 3 different mice, and it was the very reason, just like you said, I wanted to see if there was a big difference, and it was a pretty large difference. I played with if you're watching, I played with this is a pretty good mouse right here. This is my PC mouse, and it played much differently than when I used the Amiga Mini and played with this bad boy. All right.
How so?
Well, my guess is, this is just a guess. My guess is the Amiga, the A500 Mini's mouse isn't as sensitive as my PC mouse, and so you got a different feel. And it's funny because I've got a real old USB laser mouse I've got hooked up to the Mister, and it played a lot more like the A500 Mini version than my new version. So you nailed it when you mentioned it. Like, if you're going to emulate this, it's going to come down to how you've got your mouse adjusted. There are adjustments for that stuff, depending on what you like. You can adjust that in like Amiga Forever, for example. I will say this: all the actual Amiga mice I have are no good. Okay, I mean they're not good to use just on the desktop. So I knew when this game came up, I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna fool with that. So I tried to get a good cross section to see which one I like the best. Plus, these days a lot of people are using a laser mouse on their Amiga. It's not like they used to be where you couldn't do it. But I will say, all of them played okay. I actually thought it played a little bit better with less sensitivity of the
Right.
of the Amiga A500 Mini and kind of crummier mouse. But that's just me. So to get into the game further, as you go through this maze, and again there are 32 mazes. Your job is to leave the maze. Okay, sounds simple. The first level of this starts off pretty simple. With you just going through and trying to learn what stuff does. As an example of some of the stuff you're going to run into, there are little balls that are teleporters. You learn that pretty quick. There are areas that are locked behind locks that you've got to go find the key for, and they're colored keys. It's simple stuff. The green key opens the green lock. I mean, stuff like that. You're also going to come across stuff like arrows on the floor, and arrows on the floor simply, if the arrow is pointing one way and you put your marble on it, it's going to go that way. So you can sort of fight against them a little bit if you've got enough momentum, but generally you want to try to just avoid them if you're going the other way, or hit them if you want to go quickly the way you want to go. You're also going to come across money. You're going to come across diamonds. Diamonds are point. Money is for stores. You're going to come across stores in this. Stores are kind of different in this because they're literally like tiles on the floor that say, like, have a price on them and have a picture of what you're going to get when you go there. And if you roll over them, you get what's there if you've got the money. If you don't got the money, you can still get them, but it takes some of the energy out of your ball, some of the life force.
Right, and so what you have to do is you have to stop your ball over the thing.
That's right.
To make it realize that you want it. If you got the money, you just instantly pick it up.
Did you figure that out, or did you read it in the
I
docs?
read that in the documentation.
Yeah, I accidentally figured it out when I went to get a soda. I was like, what happened? Also, you're going to come across areas where the board has just an empty spot. I learned pretty quick what you do here, which is you've got to basically, to get across it, you've got to basically fill in that gap with one of the items.
So you get a pickaxe,
right?
And while you're holding that item, holding, I say in quotation marks because you are in fact a ball. How you hold these items is sort of left to the imagination.
The portable hole.
Yeah, that's right. And so you hold down the left mouse button and then you roll over the hole and you'll fill it in as you roll over it. But you have a limited amount of these pickaxes.
Right.
And so it's possible if you misuse these things that you can get stuck.
Yes. And how many times did that happen to you?
Every time I played.
Yeah, many times I had that happen. Aside from that, you're also going to come across areas of the board where the board looks like it's sort of cracked, like there's a hole in it. It reminds me of when your crossbar in Stunt Car Racer gets damaged. That's what they remind me of. And these are areas where you've got a limited amount of times you can go across them. You maybe once, maybe twice, and then they turn into gaps. And usually these are long stretches. So basically, you got a shot at getting out and getting back to wherever you're going with those.
They're usually found in a place where they'll put an item down a corridor.
Yeah, a dead end.
And you'll have to race down, and that sort of knocks the stability down a level, and then race back, and that totally erases it.
Yeah.
So
now, when you move up into the higher levels, you see some more wackier stuff. There'll be areas where stuff's perpetually exploding. There'll be areas where you have to drop bombs to blow stuff up. There's a real freakish area I was watching a guy play where you had to use the bombs to basically they sort of work in reverse. They're building the spots that you have to go, which it's a real high level. There's also eyes. Now eyes are interesting. Did you fool with getting? Did you try to use the eyes where you generate the map? That's what you do.
Yeah, I don't understand. Like, you collect the eyes, and when it says it draws it, and it says it draws a 3D map.
Yeah.
But what you see are just some dots in a void.
Yeah. It's hard to read this 3D map. That's for sure.
Yeah, I personally would have left that out. And I guess for technical reasons, the eyes are not even available on the C64.
Yeah.
It doesn't even draw them out.
Yeah, and the thing is, you could get a lot of those that help you see the level allegedly. But I'm like you, like getting those and seeing the level I didn't have any idea what I was looking at. I'm like, man, this is
right.
I would much rather have just had a little radar or something pop up. It's something. Like, what would have been great? It's a little radar in the corner. They just had the whole area and just where you were at. That would have helped. But,
yeah, or maybe just an area that would point to what direction the exit was in.
Well,
I don't know anything.
That's not even going to help you in most of these places because sometimes,
because
much like
they're
Gauntlet,
labyrinthine.
Your comparison to Gauntlet's dead on. I got to give you credit for that because much like Gauntlet, when you start these accursed levels, you may be right beside the exit, like it's on the other side of the wall, but that means they're going to screw with you for 15 minutes, making you go all over the place and going to get all these fetch quests and stuff. And that's the game. There's also, we should mention ice. Boy, do I not like ice. A lot of games, when you have obstacles in a game, let's say, for example, the obvious comparison boat would be Marble Madness to this because they both involve a marble or a ball going through a mazy or whatever thing. Now, in Marble Madness, since you're going to a goal at the end and you're moving on, okay? And the levels are probably, take you, 3 minutes to get through? Sometimes a little bit less, depending on which level it is. Not like these. So when you come across something that's like an obstacle, let's say acid or the evil marble, you sort of get there, you contend with it, and then you move on. You know what I'm saying? It's not like the thing lingers around. In this game, because of the way this thing is set up, the obstacles aren't like a momentary things to beat. They're continual irritants. That's what.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that really got me about this game. Instead of enjoying going through the levels, I was more irritated. Like, it's just like, oh, they put this here. The arrows, they're just a pain in the butt. They just make it so it's hard to get through stuff. The ice is real tough to get. Now, you can equip your ball with spikes. That makes the ice easier to navigate. And you can get armor. There's stuff you can get to make the ball tougher and better. But, I mean, for the most part, you're not going to have that stuff. It's always timed. And so you just get to contend with stuff that just are like the holes. They're just irritating. And I was more irritated than having a good time. Is that just me, Boat?
Well, here's the thing. A game like this, what drives you crazier than almost anything else? I'll tell you what drives me crazier than almost anything else when playing a video game, and that's backtracking.
Yeah.
Backtracking, there's nothing worse. There's nothing that kills the fun of a video game like backtracking. In this game, you constantly have to do it.
Yeah.
And whenever you're backtracking, it's not as if, like you said, you don't eliminate obstacles that are in your way. There's no way to get rid of them. You just have to contend with them time after time after time. And each time you do it, it makes you want to hit the power button more and more and just move on with your life.
Not just me then. Yeah, we should also mention that, of course, this place is riddled with holes. And what holes aren't there, you will end up making the holes when you go over certain areas. And so one of the power ups is a parachute. And if you're quick enough to hit the button, you can save yourself from going down the hole. You get quite a few of these things. You can pick them up. But that right there embodies one of the irritants. Like, why have all the holes? Also, I don't like games like that are this type of control that require pinpoint accuracy.
They should have just said if you select the parachute and you go over a hole, you'll parachute
Right.
over it.
But
They
I mean,
shouldn't make you time it.
if you play a game like Marble Madness, or even something like Crystal Castle, something that's got a wacky control scheme, they purposely give you a wider berth for the most part. Now there are parts of Marble Madness that they're tight corridors, but for the most part, they give you it's not that difficult to navigate. Plus the way the game is set up, you'll get better at it eventually. But this game, it's real easy to, and this is on a modern mouse, so I can't imagine what this was like back in the day. But it'd be really easy to just fall into a hole accidentally, roll off the side of the maze. I did that plenty of times, and then so it just sucks. It's just just like, oh, this game was a quandary for me, Bo, if I'm honest, because it looks good. Technically, I think it's a good looking game. I think the controls are pretty good. Don't get me wrong. I think the rock and roll soundtrack is it's okay. I think maybe
I was not a fan of the music.
Well,
in this game.
it's 89. It's not like you're not going to get like. I thought Whoosman did a pretty good job. This is not Turrican. This is not one of those games. It's okay. I thought it was okay. It's not like I'm not going to go crazy.
Here's my thing. When they came to him, they said, "Okay, Husselbeck, you need to write 10 rock and roll tracks."
Yeah.
And Husselbeck took an afternoon and knocked out 3 or 10 of the most generic rock and roll sounding songs he could think of, and then collected his check.
Well, who could say? We never know what, and we don't know the time schedule it was allotted either, Bo. So, maybe listen. I thought the tunes are okay. I'm not going to knock the game for the tunes. Plus,
uninspired is what I call them.
It gives you multiple tracks, and just an FYI, if you want to hear all 10 tracks, you could actually there's actually a secret gimmick you could type in, so you can listen to all the tracks. Of course, you can just go to YouTube and listen to them as well. I like some of the ideas. The stores are interesting. I accidentally rolled over stores sometime. I didn't like that because I didn't have that much money. I like the idea. You can tell they were going for this game's sort of a quandary for me also. Because I'm not sure what they were doing. They brag about all these high score tables and stuff. So clearly they were wanting guys to compete with times and high scores. But I can't imagine sitting around with your buddies and doing that because the levels are so long that it would just you'd be sitting there forever. I don't see where the fun would be having all. If this was a game that had listen, I'm not saying you got to have Marble Madness length. But maybe not much more. Smaller levels. And at the very end, maybe make a couple ultimate levels. But I don't like the levels being as long as they are. I know we're back to this again. But it's too much.
Well, it's the cardinal sin of Euro game design. It is.
And I'm not sure that the Gauntlet maze meets the marble idea is, I don't know. We've played games that have a ball in them like this before. Me and Brett played one on the X68000 one time. There's a couple games that are like this, but they're quicker playing games too. That's another thing about this game. It's not like your ball's gonna be rolling around. It's not really rock and roll ball. This is more like easy listening. You got it's a slower game. And you sort of have to take your time to figure out how to navigate these mazes. And they are mazes. You're not going to, there's not like one path. Sometimes they limit you, but a lot of times you go wherever you want and try to figure out how to get to certain things, just like Gauntlet. And I just did not have fun with this one. I'm not, technically, it's fine. And I'm not going to kill it. I don't think it deserves it to get smashed. It just didn't do it for me personally.
It's like, this is another example of a technically competent game that is absolutely no fun to play.
Yeah, and the thing is, there are going to be people that like this game. I mean, there's no doubt. And
Sure, there's people that like Top Banana.
right. Well, no, let's not get crazy. But I mean, there are no. They're going to be people that like this game that aren't idiots or just schmoes. I think there's a certain crowd that could get into a game like this. But I mean, maybe just because I couldn't help but play this and think of Marble Madness. I couldn't help it, and I thought to myself, I love Marble Madness so much more than this. I would say, I just think that's a more fun use of the control.
If you, like you said, if you would have taken these same levels and either instigated like a password system or a checkpoint system, so when you died, and when you die in this game, you can either go back to the beginning of the level or you can regenerate right where you died.
Yeah.
But if you accidentally create a pit on both sides of you and
Yeah.
you can't escape, it's game over.
Or you don't have the right equipment,
Yeah, and you've got to go back to the beginning, and it just takes you so long.
Yeah, like when you
to work your way through these stages.
When you die, I mean, when you go back, did you ever once think to yourself, this time is going to be great? I never thought that. I thought to myself, oh, God, no, please, no. Save state. For God's sake, save state.
Right.
I will say that this did get a release on multiple systems, Bode, and no one's for sure what the lead system was on this one, if I'm honest. But I bet it's not the PC, which we're looking at here, the DOS version of this. This came out on a lot of I mean, you'd be surprised here. It came out on the ST, as we mentioned, the C64, as we mentioned, of course, the DOS version, which we're looking at, and it also came out on the ZX. So actually, I kind of would be interested in what the ZX version looked like too. I would check that out.
Yeah, I would be interested in that.
The DOS version, this is. I was talking about before the show started. The DOS version of this is back when the Amiga, ruled the DOS with an iron fist. Like if you're gonna play one of these, the DOS version is probably not the one I'd play.
Yeah, that 89 through 91 period. I mean, like the Amiga owners were laughing.
Yeah, and there was a wide gap. Now they quickly closed it, but it wasn't closed when this came out. So, but that might said it looks okay. It doesn't look it's it's garbage. I mean, I think they did a pretty good job given what they had to work with. Sure. But I would, if you're gonna pick one of the two, I think I would play this on the good old Amiga.
It would be interesting to know if mouse control was required on the DOS version.
Well, I would assume I'd say in '89. You're gonna. I mean, I doubt it's required. In all honesty, because I mean, you got to think Windows 95 and Windows 3.11 where the DOS were. I didn't have a mouse for years.
Exactly. I mean, we're like 89 was 4 years out or 5 years out from the release of Windows 3. So
I looked this up on the Lemon to see how it did and see how the magazines treated it. The people at Lemon are pretty keen on. I think it was 7.88. Again, I know there's a crowd that's into the game like this. The magazines treated it pretty nicely. Both Amiga Computing gave it a 94, Amiga Format an 86, Amiga Joker 88. CU Amiga 81. Now, the AUI crowd, not a fan. 5 out of 10. The Dr. Magazine gave it 9 out of 10. The One gave it an 80. Average magazine score for this was 84%. So it's funny that a couple people just hated it, and then everybody else seemed to like it pretty well. So I mean,
well, I'll give it this. This is a truly unique concept where they took a Marble Madness type game and they tried to I can see that the thought process of the designer of this game was like, hey, Marble Madness is great. What if we made a game where we expanded the levels and we made them more like a maze? We gave you power-ups and we put a really awesome rock and roll soundtrack behind it. Boom. I mean, it sounds great on paper.
In the chat, Super Tape One makes a valid point here. This was released at 89, and we've looked at a lot of the older games on the Amiga. Now, 89, they had a pretty good amount of time to get into it, but and you can tell because this doesn't look like a game from like 86. I mean, clearly their game had been honed. The guys that put this together weren't idiots. Like, these guys had a lot of jack. Like I said, the only thing really my only problem with the game is that I just didn't think it was that fun. And sometimes that happens. No matter how much jack you've got, it just doesn't work for everyone. Boat, did we get any Discord action on this one?
That's a great question.
I didn't mean to spring it on you, Boat.
Yeah, let me look at this.
I'll tell you the
here.
eBay while you're looking.
All right, I got it. I'm good.
Go ahead.
I'm ready. All right, Explorer leads the charge. He says Rainbow Arts, and then he put a heart emoji beside it because he likes rainbow arts.
Oh yeah, who does it?
It says the intro is a fun little jam. The intro music was quite good and catchy. My favorite was the little green trumpet player. The intro is rather long, but it's definitely worth a watch and listen. The ball was easy to control with the mouse, and the music was quite good. I think my favorite is the game over tune. I
Yeah.
didn't get to spend too much time with it. I was stuck on level 2, but enjoyed the game nonetheless. There's also a way to cheat and select the level you want to play, and there are many. 7 out of 10. Barkbit writes, fun puzzle game that controls well, looks and sounds nice. What kills it for me is that you have no idea where you're going and it's easy to get lost or trapped. The map looks like a scrambled mess and it doesn't help at all. You can kill your ball if you mess up, but starting the level all over is no fun since it takes a long time to get through. Not a game for the impatient one. 5 out of 10.
We could have read Barkbit's review. That mirrors ours almost exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. Jazz Dog writes, it takes some guts to title your game with a pun. Rainbow Arts Software did not shy away from any potential backlash, secure in the fact that rock and roll was going to be one of their bolder games. In it, you navigate a tool-using rock through fairly large mazes filled with obstacles and locked passages. While interesting in concept, 2 flaws stop this from being a gem. First, the map does not scroll, but hops from map tile to map tile. This makes dealing with some obstacles, such as moving flames, difficult and confusing. Secondly, the levels take some time and dedication to explore and traverse. With no checkpoints and dying depositing you back at entry, the player may experience a landslide of frustration. If I'd played this back in the day, I would have found it more compelling than I do presently. There is something here, but it has not survived well under the strata of time. 6 Rhyolites out of 10. And finally, and Jazz Dog put some really clever puns in there, like it was one of their Boulder games. He spelled it like Boulder, like the rock. So hats off to Jazz Dog.
He's a
punny
star.
review.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pixels at Dawn writes, I like a good puzzle game, and this definitely is a good one. The mouse-controlled ball has a good feel to it, and there's not really much to learn about the gameplay that can't be picked up through playing the game. That's true. That said, it really suffers from a poor difficulty curve. The first level should take 5 minutes max to complete, but it is huge, and following levels go the same way. And getting chucked back to the start of the level on failure is a fun killer like no other. That said, in these modern times, get an emulator save state on the go, and I think you'll have a load of fun. 7 out of 10.
Let me ask you, Bo, real quick before we move along. If this game had levels that were cut in half, okay, or maybe even thirds, and occasionally you would go through a gate checkpoint, would that have saved it for you?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, would this have been an all-time classic A+ game? No,
Yeah.
but this would have been a solid B+ to A title.
It's funny that
Absolutely.
this has the problem that so many of the Amiga platformers have, which and it's bad. The thing is, if you look at a box, this is what gets me. And I never understood this, Bode. This thing has 32 levels, right? Okay. What's better than 32? How about 64? How about 100?
Yeah,
Split these suckers up. And then,
exactly.
and no one's going to fault you. It's okay, man. Make it a third. I keep right that first level. I thought to myself, my God. And once you go through that tube, I thought, I'm done. You're not even close to being done. That's how they get you.
No.
Make that, every pipe could be a save point. Or they can have a gate. How about a gate and you roll through it, it goes dun 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 dun, it makes a cute little noise, and that way okay, I'm good to go. And and maybe at that point it saves all
not
your
only
equipment and
not
stuff
only
too.
that encourages you to explore and try different things and not be walking on eggshells all the time.
And I'm not sure about all the. And another thing, I'm not sure about all the damage, the missing blocks. There's nothing worse in a game than getting to a point where you can't move. And then you're just like, and it just makes you mad, and you know what's going to happen when you start over. This one had issues. I did look up on eBay. If you're in the UK, these things are actually quite reasonable in box. I saw these things for sale right now on eBay for $8 and $15 in box. So this would be an easy one to pick up. Hey, if you're a big fan of Rainbow Arts or you're a big fan of this game, that'd be a pretty decent purchase. The box is nice, so it wouldn't be too bad an idea.
Yeah. All right, Aaron. Well, that's going to do it for rock and roll. Why don't we scoot on over to our Amigos community updates section of the show?
Very good. Boy, we got a lot of stuff to talk about this week, Bo. Lots of good stuff here. So let's start off, Bo. with the boat. We didn't talk about this because we just did it last week. The boat
Tables.
roundup. We did a little roundup after last week's show about Boat Fest, and it's out right now. You want to talk about this briefly?
We talked about Boat Fest.
Yeah, that's all. And buddy, let me tell you something. There's been boat. I was just talking to Boat. There's Boat Fest coverage out the yin yang. If you're looking for it, we did the roundup, and then Boat went on Coco Talk on Saturday and spent.
I literally spent 2 hours
It was
talking
over
about Boat
too.
Fest.
And they had a ton of pictures on there, and him and L. Curtis Boyle went over it in detail. And then, as we'll go ahead and talk about this now before we'll come back to the other one. Me and the Brent did a show on boy, don't you love it when that happens? Me and Brent did an ARG over the weekend, and this was on the games of Boat Fest. This is where we talked about not so much the events of Boat Fest, although we hadn't heard Brent's opinion, so we can let him chime in. But mostly we talked about the games we played at Boat Fest. I finished my rant about Pac-Man on the Atari. We also talked about Street Fighter II Championship Edition, which is what Brent ran for his game thing. We also talked about the Timberman. We talked about the Trash Man sequel we played. We talked about Dodgy Rocks, and then we also talked about NBA Jam on the Jag. And a little bit of time talking about that Frogger game, which, again, I missed out on that. Somebody had alerted me of that. I'd love to play that 8-man Frogger. That looked awesome. So that's what me and Brent got into on ARG. So there's plenty of Boat Fest coverage to go around. That's for darn sure. Now, with all that said, speaking of Boat Fest, we filmed this at Boat Fest. Tell them about it, Boat. This is 3D Death Chase.
Right. So this is, after Empire Strikes Back came out, or no, the Return of the Jedi came out, you had the speeder bike sequence, and every kid wanted to be in that speeder bike and be running through the trees.
That was awesome. That was awesome. That was an awesome scene.
This is basically, on a very, very humble machine, an incredible feat of programming in terms of the sense of speed that it gives you. In this game, you are on a motorcycle instead of a speeder bike. But you're going through a forest of trees, avoiding trees, shooting down other motorcycles. There's tanks, there's helicopters. This is, of course, I believe, episode 2 of ARG Presents. Yeah. It was one of the very early episodes.
This may have been the first as the next game that I ever played.
That's right. And
I mean,
what a game!
I picked it solely based on its name. That was how I do it. and this, I hadn't played this for a little while when we did this episode. But man, and it's funny. I'm telling you, Boat, I swear to God, just a little tidbit here. I started playing this game. I'm like, cruising along. This is cute. It's not bad. And then by the time you go through like a cycle or two, man, it is by the seat of your pants action. I mean,
and it's a mesmerizing experience too. It pulls you in.
You really feel like you're using the force because something's driving this bike. It's partially you. I mean, it's as sharp as it can be. And I can't even imagine what this would have been like to play back in the day. Because this is outstanding. I mean, I guess we're spoiling the episode, but we both love this game a lot. This is one of the best ZX Spectrum games I've ever played. I mean, it's one of my top 2 or 3. So yeah, we had a lot of fun on that episode. Of course, that one was shot live at Boat Fest. Now, Boat, you got to get into this. This was a huge deal this week. Talk to us about the Great Gaina Sisters. You've brought back your classic series. Go into it.
So, I was sitting around home. I was thinking about, because I know you've been working hard, and I've basically just been lazy all summer long. I've been doing nothing. And so I thought, it's time for me to start pulling my weight and producing some content. That's what we YouTubers call it, content.
I hate that word.
Okay, I do too. And so, but anyway, I was like, the Amiga platformer is, I started doing this literally like 3 years ago. And I just stopped, and I don't even know why I stopped, because I was having a lot of fun doing it.
I know why. Amiga platformer. You eventually hit. Listen, I looked at your number 1. When that's number 1, you've hit the wall.
And so, and the whole idea behind this is trying to objectively rank these games with a series of criteria. And so I did one on Giana Sisters when I was sort of burning out on the series, and I was like, screw the spreadsheet, we're not doing it. And that episode sucked. So I was like, we're going to go back and give Giana Sisters its due. And so I went through and there's a little bit of background about about the game on there, and then we dive right in, and I play about a half an hour of it, and then we go to the spreadsheet and we fill out the spreadsheet and we rank it with the rest of the Amiga platformers. And I'll tell you this, Aaron, this evening,
Yes.
following Amigos,
Yes.
you are unavailable to do your normal disaster stream, so
Correct.
I will be stepping in, and we will be recording several more episodes of the ranking of Amiga platformers, as well as a new series that's going to debut next Monday called Amiga Attack of the Clones, which
Oh.
compares clone versions of games to their original versions.
I love it. Hey, listen, but I gotta ask you. Someone brought it up in the sort of brought this up. I know a platform. I don't know if you've played this one yet. Has that one been on the show yet?
So Top Banana does it. It is recognized as a Mario-style platformer.
Correct.
This is again. This is not every platformer because platformers are a wide definition. These are basically scrolling, multi-stage action games that involve the main character not having a gun. So no run and gun games, no Contra. No games like that, but pretty much anything else is fair game. So Yolanda, not scrolling, not eligible in the ranking of Amiga platform.
Top Banana's in.
Top Banana, yeah, it's on the list.
Oh,
it's on the list.
Oh,
yeah.
That's outstanding. I'm glad to hear that. There's going to be a lot of people having to hear that. So please check out the Boat series. This thing got over like a house on fire. By the way, God, what a response. Now. Let's shift over. There's a lot of stuff going on over the Stream Team boat this week. We've been very fortunate. We'll just start off with what I did last week. I did it again. Last week on Friday Night Disaster stream,
I was not impressed.
I ended up going with games on the Mister that are arcade games. Just you know, the Mister. Of course, everybody loves the Mister. It's the big hot new thing, right? It's got lots of arcade cores. And the one thing you hear about the Mister, this actually bugs me, Bo, if I'm going to be honest with you. I keep hearing about how great this thing is because with 100% accuracy and everything. Wrong. It's not. A lot of these cores are still works in progress. They're not 100%. And some of the ones that they say are 100%, they're not. I'm telling you. I own the games, brother. I know. And so I went out, I hadn't played a lot of the arcade games for a while, so I went through and checked out some. I had people yell them out. I saw something I liked. And so I just went through and tried out some of the games. And, some of them are ready for prime time. Some of them aren't. There's a couple. There was one I played. I was not happy when I picked it because once I loaded it up, it said like, oh yeah, you've got to subscribe to start the game.
What?
That's cute.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's a Patreon angle. They shouldn't even, if the game's not playable, don't put it in the list. But anyway, I tried a bunch of games. And with mixed results, most stuff ran pretty well. Now, I sucked at a lot of them, but there you go. So if you want to see just a slew of arcade games on the Mister, there you go. We had a good time. Now, this is the stuff I'm really excited about. We've got a new player here, a new entry, and this is the first outing for Happy Coding's ZX programming stream. Our good buddy Happy has been, of course, Happy behind a lot of great stuff, including the ZX version of Asteroids that we really liked, Shay's Maxim, the really cool Christmas game. He's working on the new Donkey Kong game. He's got a lot going on. Of course, if you've watched the International Computer Club, Happy's been on there a bunch of times. And Happy runs a weekly stream. I've got together with some of these guys because I'm like, these streams, this is what the Amigo Stream Team channel is all about. And Boat's right there with me on this.
Yeah.
One thing about Twitch is that when you do a stream, like a lot of people's streams don't stick around very long, and then they're gone. You're gone forever, including ours. And so one of the original reasons we started the second channel was to keep those streams. We didn't want to clog up the main channel with a bunch of streams that people might not be interested in, but for Amiga Stream Team, we want to document a lot of these channels. And I told Bo, and I talked to Happy, I'm like, we should grab these for, we should grab other guys' streams that are, that want to get involved. And Happy was like ready to rock and roll. And so we're going to start featuring Happy Coding's ZX programming streams on the Amiga Stream Team channel. Probably do one a week. It'll be probably it'll be something that's 2 weeks from what he's currently doing. So the good thing about that is you can sort of catch up if you want to watch the live stream. There's a lot of good ways to go. So please, if you're in the ZX programming or you just want to check out Happy, doing his thing. Check this out. These will be coming up weekly. Speaking of weekly, our good buddy Jack Flack made it home. You may have noticed if you were on Twitter this week that Jack Flack was the king dong of Twitter.
Oh yeah, he owned Twitter.
He owned Twitter with this incredible picture he took of a lady who had the dragon from Neverending Story being ridden by the Big Lebowski. He had found this chick with a painting at a hotel. I think he bought he told me he bought the painting, by the way. So anyway, this is the first time Flack's been back in his studio since he was at Amigathon, because he spent the last week on the road and up in Washington and some other places. So he comes back with a vengeance here. He talks, at the end of the thing, he talks a lot about Boat Fest, about the Mothman tour, but he goes into the games of a fellow named Charlton Handley, who has just basically made all of his games pretty much free. It's one of those gimmicks where you can pay him a donation, if you want to, which we advise, because watching him play these games, hey, these are some pretty good games, but they're right up your alley. They remind me of old NES games.
Absolutely.
If I'm honest, I'm not. We're not C64 guys per se, but these look like games that you and the Brent could get into something fierce. And I watched him play these things for a good while. He played a bunch, and I mean, listen, the price is right. You throw this guy a few bucks, you know what I mean, and it set him up. And then the last part of the show, he ran for a good while. It's just talking about his experiences at Boat Fest, and he probably goes into depth more than anybody in terms of the Mothman stuff. When we took In the Steps of the Mothman tour on that Sunday. So if you're interested in the Mothman stuff, this is a good stream to watch also. But I would definitely check this out, especially if you're looking to get into this Charlton Handley stuff. Again, and he links you up, of course, on this stuff. And these are good games. If you're a C64 guy, I would definitely check them out, Boat.
Yeah.
We got one more offering here, and this is another addition to the stream, Boat. I was real excited about this. I've always been a big fan. In fact, me and you've talked about it many times. Our good buddy 48K Ram, who he was over at Boat Fest. I've been watching his streams for a while now because I like what he does. He gets in there live, and he works on machines live. He recaps stuff live. He also does demos. He'll show a bunch of demos for a machine you wouldn't think much about. You know what I mean? Like he'll do, say, Atari ST demos, which is what he did this past week. Sometimes it'll be stuff like Amstrad or stuff like that. It makes it interesting. And often he will also go in and just load up his newest acquisition and play with it. So he also judges some of those like one-line programming contests and stuff, so you get to watch him play all these games. He does a whole bunch of different stuff. And these streams were just dissipating in the mist. So I got with him too. I said, listen, 48K, I would love to have you let us put your stuff on the stream team. He was down with it, Boat. And so this is the first one I grabbed. And this one would have been a shame to lose this. This is 48K recapping a Tandy Color Computer 3. Now, if you don't think about it, you're like, oh, recap, and that's not. Listen, if you're recapping one of these, and there's a video you can follow along with, let me tell you something, brother. You're going to follow that video. And 48K is no slouch. He's all man. He goes in there and does it right. So this is the first one, and I'll be grabbing these, a couple weeks behind where he's at. So if you want to catch up with watch him live, I should mention that he streams every Tuesday on Twitch, 48K Rams channel. So check him out, but we'll be featuring his stuff as well, Bo. It should be a lot of fun. That's all the new
great.
stuff, Bo.
I'm so glad to have these guys join us because, just like you said, these streams go away on Twitch. They get deleted, and so I got. Oh boy, it overpowered me. The power of all those streams. And so, anyway, Aaron, as we bring an end to our show today, it's time to announce everybody's favorite part of the show, the Patreon Song Challenge. Last week I went back in time to the 60s. It was A Spoonful of Sugar from Mary Poppins.
Yeah, that one I knew. That was one of the least offensive ones you've done for a while.
Lots of people knew it, Aaron. We got correct responses from Pixels at Dawn, Pac Billy, Mitsuyama, Gary Heather, Pajako 6502, and CBM Nut. So congratulations to you all for getting it. And it's time for this week's Patreon Song Challenge. If you know the answer, please send me an email at john@amigospodcast.com. If you're watching live in the chat, please refrain from answering in the chat. Make it fun for everybody. And we're going to kick things off here. That's right. So here we go. Jack, Billy, Rob, McDavid, Howard, Price, Jazz Dog, Daniel, James Miller, our typer, Bumface, Pooh Hands, Chris Edwards, Petzel, Alarm, Albert, Kemp, we like what we like, Mr. Chip, Peter Price, Herman V. Wanderly Chesum, Mark Richardson, David Hearn, Remo K, David Terrace, Carlos, Matthew Mobius, The Phantom Magnus, Seth Yates, Alistair Fiend, David Z, George Rosansky, The Amiga Show, Daniel Crabtree, Super Fammy King, Crazy Loomis, William Vinterscar, Heavy Systems Inc., Frag Lord, Mark Ballard, Olaf Hope, Alien Breeder, Dave Velociraptor, Calbert Boy, Daniel Williams, Luke Hudson, Bomb the Base, Frodo and El Solon Sizer, Tech Major Gun, Mr. Cola, Bernard, Lucas, Jerry, Zorg Club, Reflection, Simon, Let's Cap, and Crispy. Kilobytes and caffeine. Gary, Heather, Free Lunch, Kate Fox, David Pickford, Cameron Armstrong, Andy Jones, Lobsterminator, 10-minute Amiga Retrocast, Bernard Quinn, RMC, Tim, Drew, Joseph, Harrison, Calletter, Rob O'Hara, Matthew Larimore, Andy, Sonzo, Barkman, Rowan Berg, Andrew Monks, Joe the Zombie, Lee, Kellogg, Allen, Kebab, Chicote, Levelor, John Marshall, Matthew Perron, Creepy Dead Boy. Vicky, CT, Z the Slow Norris, Stafford, Sorgon, Mortensen, Edmund, Christopher Hassel, Chris Fozoran, Jeru Graham, Bebke, Adam Battersby, O'Brien's Retro Vintage, Gary Hucker, Paul Harrington, Duncan Styles, tapes from the Crypt, Josh Adam Bradley, Jonas Rouleau, THT, Eric Nelson, Daniel Bingston, Eric Holes, Jason Warrens, Pixels at Dawn, and Colbjorn Barman.
Man, you outdid yourself with that. My God, that was wretched.
That was a trip to the theater.
Oh my God, is that what that was?
Yeah.
Theater pains. What that was horrible. Or that's one of the worst ones you've ever done. And it just kept
Broadway's,
going.
Broadway's not dead.
And it is now. Horrible.
I teed it up for you there. All right, Aaron, what we got going on next week?
Oh, you ready? Here it is.
Aha!
What was that? What was that?
That was I forgot about the Twitch subscribers.
Hey, just keep on going. It's Railroad Tycoon for you listening at home.
That's right. Railroad Tycoon brought to you by these Twitch subscribers who watch us every week live on Friday evenings at 5 o'clock on twitch.tv/Amigos Retro Gaming. We got Vinjadoricio, Pajako 6502, Uber Scuba Diver, Monza Mess, Broxity, A Data Ombre, Great Algae, Lamazda, Imcron, Pixels at Dawn Gaming, Brother Bill, Mash Pie, Real Retro Dude, Beach Bum 7, Gary Heather, Paul Kitching, Texas Foosballer, Negsol, Amiga Live, Blow Jellyfish, Da Crabs MTG, Jigglebox, Thursobard, L. Curtis Boyle, Holy Guacamole, Twilight Zoner, R-Typer, John Marshall 3, Still Adolescing, Wishbone, Frodo NL, Grizzla, Am I Steph, Buck Owens, Spinny 108, Edvin Helland, Back to 8-Bit with Hermsky, Retro Jerry, Wing Chun Wolf, Eeyore 4077, Oil of Hope, Chris Edwards Restoration, RetroRewind.ca, Explorer, Steve Burtz, YOLO Wookie, Darkwing 602, Mitsuyama, Jason Warrens, and Lumen 808.
Very good. Hey, while we're talking about that, a special Amigos thumbs up. I see him back in the chats. Our good buddy Edvin Helen. I knew
That's
no
right.
illness to keep this man down. He's back
Nothing
out.
can kill him. Nothing can stop him.
The booze can knock him right over, but the disease can't. So we hope you're feeling better, Edvin. And thanks to everybody that's supporting us on Patreon. We really appreciate it.
Yeah. All right, Aaron. Well, we will reconvene this time next week. Talk about Sid Meier's Railroad Tycoon. We will see you guys then, and until then,
Adios.
adios.